Hey everyone, welcome to the Ceres podcast. I'm Stelios, today's co-host and founder and director of Ceres. Today, in our news review, I'm joined by my regular co-host, David Nicolaou from Orkley Friary in Orkley near Doncaster. I always think that's a mouthful. I should probably trim that down a little bit. David's been off for a little while actually, dealing with staffing situation and rebuilding his sort of core team. So I've been mixing this around a little bit, but I'm so glad to have him back for today's episode. But it was nice having a couple of different voices on the news review, and me and David think it'd be good if every now and then one of you listeners could join us. So if you do want to come on the show, if you have some opinions you want to share, then come on, we'd love to have you on. Don't forget to join us on the Ceres podcast discussion group on Facebook. Everyone's a bit shy there actually, so we're trying over the next few weeks to try and bring everybody out of their shell, but thanks to everybody that does participate. We are here to spice things up a little bit and tackle the industry's most pressing issues, so be sure to let us know your feelings. That's what we like here. Thoughts, opinions and feelings. Today's episode is sponsored by Ceres Deep Fry Cleaner, the ultimate solution to grease, grime and stubborn carbon buildup. This powerful non-caustic cleaner is designed to keep your fryers and pans in tip-top condition, whether it's a fish and chip shop fryer, whether it's a tabletop unit, a large Pitco or something like that, a brat pan, a donut fryer, a conveyor belt crisp fryer. If it's a fryer of any sort, the Deep Fry Cleaner will absolutely obliterate all of that crap. So say goodbye to stubborn fried on carbon and polymerization. Now that long word, I think sometimes people don't know what that is, but if you fry in rapeseed oil, groundnut oil, sunflower oil, anything that's a liquid oil pretty much, you feel that tackiness after a while on your surfaces. That's polymerization, and that's not good after a little while. So again, the Ceres Deep Fry Cleaner would just completely eliminate all of that. Plus, it reduces the need for strenuous scrubbing and it minimises employee exposure to hot surfaces. The benefits are numerous. You add years of life to your fryers, and you know how much it costs these days to buy something new, and then on top of that, the interest to buy something new. So don't be crazy. If you can get 2-3 years life out of a fryer, 5 years more, this will massively help. You increase oil life, again, another expense saved. You improve recovery time, not only recovery time from frying, but the switching it on in the morning. The range won't need half an hour, 20 minutes. It just shaves so much time because you're getting rid of that carbon layer. It removes the carbon buildup. It saves on gas and electricity because of what we've discussed above. And guess what? You serve better food in conjunction with regular filtering, good oil top up. This is going to become a stalwart of what makes you serve better food. To get the Ceres Deep Fry Cleaner, visit www.ceres.shop for free next day delivery across mainland UK. We also ship to Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, all British Isles and numerous European countries. We've got people in Holland, Belgium, Italy buying this to clean their fryers. So don't be crazy, don't settle for less. Choose Ceres Deep Fry Cleaner and keep your fryers in tip-top condition. At Ceres, we're more than just batter mix. We're here to support your business with top-notch products, insightful podcasts, well-written articles designed to supercharge your success. We'd love to hear what's exciting in your business right now and what projects you're currently working on. So please get in touch with us and let us know what it is you're up to. Stay connected with us on social media and subscribe to our mailing list. It's really important that you do subscribe to our mailing list because that's where all the news happens. I don't like putting competitions and offers on Facebook because what happens then, you've all seen it when you've done a special offer or a competition, you get these spammers, these scammers that set up a page that looks just like yours. So we don't want to do that. So everything goes through our mailing list. That's the beginning of the journey, let's say, the Ceres journey. So, all the show notes, all the episode links will be in the show notes. So you'll find them there. Just stay connected with us. We're trying to connect with you, but let us know what's going on in your world too. It's really important. So now let's dive into today's episode of the news review with my good friend and co-host, David Nicolaou. mate. How's it going?
Very well, very well. I am back.
You are back. Tell the listeners what you've been busy doing lately.
Well, we had, I don't know if anybody saw us at the awards, and we had one of our staff members with us called Kerry. She had to leave all of a sudden. Sadly, her sister passed away rather suddenly, and Kerry took on her 3 children. So an enormous, heroic thing to do, but it just meant that she couldn't, spend the time with us. And she was and dealing with the fallout of losing a sibling, which I know all too well, and everything that comes with it. So she stepped back, but she may be back one day. Who knows? It's
awful, ain't it? Like what a tremendous pile of shit she was landing in. Like she's
absolutely.
Lost her sister, and now got 3 kids. Yeah. And I guess she wouldn't want to see that any other way. But no, it's just awful.
I think if you if you ask her, she'd probably well, I'm sure she'd want her sister to be sat at home looking after her own kids, and she'd be at work with us. But life throws things at you, and you deal with it. And then on the backdrop of that, we've been sort of trying to build an outside prep kitchen, well, an external prep kitchen, which is now 90% there. And then in the middle of all that, the wife just threw a big hand grenade in and said, "Oh, I think we need the house decorating." And
these wives.
Yeah, I know. So
I must admit though, just on Kerry for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, she clearly had a high tolerance of pain, because working for you wasn't enough to make her quit. It took all of that to make her hand.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how she's put me all these years, and I've said that. It's the longest relationship I've ever had with a woman. And like she's kind of sort of disappeared and not come back. And I think it might just be the fact that it's just. I think if you step back in the shop, it's reminding you what was and what is. And we're always there if she wants anything and she needs.
What did you think of young Jamie, who tried to fill your place?
It was very good. Subtitles would have been a bit of a help in spots, but
you can't have subtitles on a podcast. It's impossible.
The audio commentary that you have over the top saying David lifts a cup to his face and drinks. That sort of thing. You could have had that running on the bottom of it. I don't know. You could have had it dubbed into English.
I think you did a grand job. I do think, yes, if we should have probably allocated some of our Sarah's budget to dubbing.
Yes. All joking aside, it was lovely. What a lovely lad.
Yeah. Really to be fair, I do think we should probably have more people on with us every now and then. I think
it's great,
how we had Charlie on as well. I think that maybe that trio bounces a bit differently as well.
I did melt his brain though.
Who, Charlie's?
Yes.
He's from Leicester. It doesn't take much.
I know, bless him. I did. I think I put him through it a bit. So, but anyway,
what makes you say that?
When he sent me an email after this, said basically you've expletively melted my brain. Now I don't know why I melted his brain, but
he's probably still trying to figure it out. He's been quiet since, to be honest.
He's not spoke to me since.
It's like taking magic mushrooms. He's still going through Alice in Wonderland.
PTSD.
I took him a photo of a body and I said, "Tell me where David touched you."
Yeah, everywhere. Just in the brain.
He just sent me a photo of a hand on his brain. So we wanted to talk about the budget. Obviously, I would say, usually I'd say, "Oh, why did you choose this one?" But this one chose us. So what's your thoughts briefly about the budget?
It's a story that writes itself, isn't it, really?
Well, I'll give them credit, though. Before you go, I do give them credit because they managed to make everyone unhappy.
Yeah, there's not one sector of society that's pretty much not being touched by this. The thing is, and I was listening to Kate Nichols, the one that you did with her, which was an absolute masterclass on analysing the impact to hospitality. And we can probably throw that a little bit broader to see what else is going on. But before the election, it was growth, positive. And then there was a sort of we're going to squeeze the pips of the rich, and that got thrown in there. And then what they've managed to do is to probably cripple every small business in the country. They're probably going to stop small businesses investing. And I've got an article that I pulled out the Telegraph this morning from a guy that's fairly local to us. He's an entrepreneur based in Chesterfield who makes Vodka Kick and Hooch. That's his company. But he's also got other businesses, which we can come to about what his thoughts are about future investment. So I think it's going to be very difficult to grow a business in the next few years on the backdrop of this enormous weight that they've put on small businesses.
I was listening to Radio 4 the day after. I think it was the day after. Yeah, it was definitely the day after. And it was the CEO of AO, AO.
Let's go.
Yeah, they do all the fridges,
the appliances
freezers,
guy,
washing machines. Yeah. And he said that they'll probably invest a lot less in the UK, and they'll prioritise investment in capital expenditure, so machinery that removes the need to employ more staff.
Yeah.
He said they probably won't get rid of staff because you still need a certain amount of people to run a business. So, but he said they probably won't be employing more, and it just makes you think, like, that is surely going to have the opposite effect. Like, if that's one company, times that by 1,000 companies of that size.
Well, Tesco's this morning have said that in this Parliament, their wage bill and national insurance bill is going to raise by $1 billion. So it's 250 million a year their bill's going to go. I mean, where's that going to go?
I think last year was
on
their
thin
total
margins.
I think last year their total tax to government was 5.2 billion. I think I'm not 100%. I might be wrong. So then add a bit more to that.
Well, it's going to end up increasing the price of everything that you buy. I mean, and this you were talking about headline figures that every employee is going to be roughly full-time employees going to be $2,500 a year more to employ, and that's a direct cost to hospitality. But every supplier that you're going to be, every delivery driver that comes to drops off to your shop is going to have to be paid more. So the inputs are going to go up. So we've not only got to factor the increases that we're going to have directly through employment, but indirectly through supply chain, and on top of that, the VAT rates are still 20% for everything we do.
Oh, they're not changing, mate.
No, of course not. There's too much money coming out of it. There's 171 billion this year is the VAT take.
And this is the thing. Like, we've genuinely tried at Ceres to help people inform their local MP about this situation, and some messaged and some emailed and some didn't, and that's fine. Like, I always knew it'd be difficult, but I always thought the more MPs that know, the better, because, chatting to Kate, you heard what Kate said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, MPs don't actually know.
Well, on the back of that, we downloaded the template on their website, which is there. Everyone can do it. It even writes itself for you and can even mail itself for you. It's a fabulous tool. I'm sorry, I'm so impressed with UK hospitality and how they've geared themselves. I think seriously impressive.
I think they do really try, like, and talking to them. And one of the things I noticed about Kate is that you don't have to warm her up. She's a professional. She's better at this than I am. Yeah. So, I remember once a few years ago, it wasn't the first episode we ever did, but somewhere like probably second or third, I probably wasn't as prepared as I'd like to be for something like that. But she just goes. Like, she knows exactly her point. She knows what she's talking about. I don't have to... I sort of don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And because she's doing this every day, she's talking to ministers, she's talking to civil servants, not just her whole team. There's a Cypriot guy that works there, actually, Tony Sophocleidis as well.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen him on the website.
And it's always funny because they always say, every time I talk to someone different at UK, I was like, oh, we got Tony Cypriot, and I'm like, yeah, thanks. Like,
There's a lot of us about.
You should talk to Tony sometime. Like, okay.
You have a lot in common, kebabs, etc.
You're both Cypriot. I know, like, thanks. But no, it makes me laugh when people say. I'm never offended by that. I like it. But it's always like funny, like when they're like, "Oh, do you know him? He's Cypriot too." And I'm like, "Yeah." There's more than one of us.
Yes.
Like,
we're everywhere.
Well, I think at the last count there were 600,000 British Cypriots in the UK.
Yeah, isn't there more British Cypriots than there is in Cyprus?
No, I think that's in the that's in the bottom millions in Cyprus.
Is that, no, I think there's more. There's more around the world, isn't there? Sorry, between
probably
between
around
us
the
and
world,
Australia, and New Zealand, there's more Cypriots abroad than there is in
and America.
Cyprus,
And America, there's a few in America as well. So I think ultimately though, I do like how proactive they're being. I do feel like, and I used a term from Gen Z, I do feel like they've been gaslit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You could see, you could hear it. I could see it, but you could hear it in her voice that maybe she was lobbying for one thing, almost promised one thing, and then sort of found out, oh my God, this isn't going our way.
Well, there's a. I'm gonna break some news to you now. You may not have realised this. Politicians lie. To seek power, they will say pretty much anything. and then do the utter reverse. What I can't get over is it was. I mean, back in the 70s, I can't remember what government it was, but they basically said, was it Harold Wilson or was it Callan? I can't remember. They were going to squeeze the pips. They were going to squeeze the pips of the rich till they popped, or they're going to squeeze the rich till the pips popped. And then we had that 97% luxury tax on anything above higher earners. So that's when like Tom Jones and Rod Stewart all left England and went to live in America, and because the tax regime was just pointless. There's no point working. There's no point earning. And I kind of got a feeling that was going to happen, which would have chased off many millionaires, and apparently a lot have left. I think we've lost about 9,000 relocated.
What was the point? Like, sorry to interrupt. Like,
No, it's fine.
I get where you're going with this, with like the peeping the squick, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Peeping the squid. Squeezing the pips, perhaps. But
Squeezing the pips.
I like your one, but
We've put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But like, genuinely, like nothing that came out in the budget will affect a millionaire or billionaire more than it would. Anyone
Get this. I mean, you said the air passenger duty or the private jet tax, which is air passenger duty, and my ears pricked up on this because I like planes. I'm a failed pilot. I've currently got a.
When you say failed, you haven't crashed or anything.
I haven't crashed. It's just I'm medically out of license, and I'm also out of hours. So I've got to revalidate my medical and my license. At some point, I'll get round to it because my son's desperate to learn how to fly. He's desperate to go flying. Anyway. That £450 per seat only pertains to the biggest of jets that are less than 19 seats. So you can buy a 10 million quid jet that will be the same price as flying a business class seat. So you'd have to spend 40 million quid on something like a Gulfstream 700, that will do transatlantic. And that 450 quid is the price of a seat from London to California. That's the furthest they're going to go.
It's an absolute joke.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
The fact that they did it, just, you know why? Because they thought that would take the headlines on the front page of the Sun or the Mirror or the Daily Star, because there's always those red tops, isn't it?
Sure.
Millionaires in the face. Yeah, it's like nothing. And I remember, like, even when we didn't know that, and we just thought it was every private plane. Yeah. Raphael Chandler, a friend of the show and customer of Ceres, friend of everything, like. He says to me, because he flies like you, and he says, Stel, he goes, a millionaire or billionaire that's jumping on a little plane to do something. They don't care about that cost.
Nope.
It is nothing.
Well, you know when the COVID restrictions were in, and you couldn't fly. There was only sort of VIP and government flights. Well, people were flying, and the fine was 10 grand.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So they just paid it. They didn't care.
Yeah,
because
it's like giving a parking ticket. It's like giving a parking ticket.
Well, when those planes cost 7,000 or 8,000 an hour to fly, to run, who cares if it's another 10 grand?
Do you remember a few years ago when it was like when you'd see like an Arab with a sports car outside Harrods?
Yes.
And they've got like some £2 million special edition Ferrari.
Yeah, no insurance.
And I'm not, no, even if they had insurance, but if you're giving them a £30 ticket, that's nothing. Like, and I'm not even against that person. Well done to them. Like, but £30 for them.
I went to London for the Food in Technology and Food Expo, and so I left about 2:00. So I'd seen everything I wanted to see. And I went for lunch in Mayfair. There's like a church that they've put like a food court in at this deconsecrated church. Anyway, so it was about 4 hours till my train. So I thought I'm going to walk. And I'm going to have to just walk through up to around central London, and then jump on the tube the other side of London. And I walked up Savile Row, and I wanted to go and see where the Beatles played at the end of Savile Row. And there was a guy picking up some suits in a brand new Rolls Royce with a private number plate on it. And it had a parking ticket on the front. And that guy walks out with 5 new suits. What, the 4 or 5 grand a pop? 20 grand's worth of suits in his hands. And he just ripped it off and chucked it in the back seat and got in. It's not a care in the world.
And I think, I just think this like, we've blooded their nose. No. Like, I'm not being funny. All these rich people that were probably being a little bit afraid, all they've done now is given them time. And I don't even think it's fair to just tax the rich. I hate this sort of like us against them.
Yeah.
I think if you've just got fair policies, for every segment of tax, we don't need to bloody the nose of the rich.
I mean, it's bizarre, this, because what he's done is he's probably now created the biggest driver of unemployment. Because, like you say, they're going to start increasing automation in factories. What if you were thinking of spending a few £100,000 on automation? It's just become that much more attractive.
I was chatting to my nephew yesterday, who's been applying for a graduate job, doing IT, and he said, like, they've been going through all these stages, and yesterday he rang and said, I've not really heard anything back about this next stage. And they said, we're just rebuilding it because of what's just happened.
Yeah.
And, like, we're going to be employing less graduates.
Yeah.
And you think, like, well, surely graduates, apprentices, you want these people. Look, for me, he's one of the telltale signs that this budget was probably not great for anybody. People on the left screaming it didn't go far enough. People on the right screaming that it went too far. People in the middle, the people that actually are going to get squeezed, are obviously not happy. This whole private school thing, I actually think it is quite vindictive. And I've always wondered, if someone sends their kid to private school, wouldn't you get a discount from the council rather than...
You would think so.
Because I don't understand the
logic.
logic.
You're not consuming state resources.
Yeah.
You're opening that state school up for somebody who could really do with that, or excuse me, or could go into that area that's with nice schools.
Did you see the Telegraph article the other day saying that people that work for the government are now asking their kids' private schools for discounts?
No, I did.
I've not got... So, it's
Right.
Please take that loosely if you're listening to this. But
not only are they putting VAT on fees, and when they did that in Greece, all the... what they call them when you get your fees paid for? Your fees paid for? Is it a scholarship?
Scholarship, yeah.
Sorry. So the scholarship started to get cancelled because they did this in Greece in 2011. By the way, the Cyprus government went in and put tax on private schools, and but they're also removing the exemption from business rates for private schools because they get a charity rate or they get a different discount. So they're not only having to charge VAT, but they're also having to pay rates. But
factoring rates.
We've got one up the road from us, and it's not... I mean, the fees aren't cheap, but the fees aren't massively expensive, and they're starting now to see people pull.
Well, it's not... I think everyone's mind of a private school is Eton.
Yeah.
And it's actually not.
No, because there's some faith schools and some religious schools that are, either Islamic schools or Christian
special
schools.
education schools.
SEND schools that you that have...
I was trying to figure out the word.
Yeah, special educational needs and development schools. There's one in Sheffield that a friend of mine works at, and they're being hit by that, which, and then people are doing two jobs to send the kids there because...
A friend of mine sends three of his kids to private school. He's the only one that works. He's got a good job, decent job. They've got a nice house. They works hard, His wife, she works a little bit, part-time, because she looks after the three boys as well. And, he wants a better life for his kids. He's working solid to put his kids through private education. And he's in West Midlands, he's in Birmingham, so he just feels like that's something he wants to prioritise. But now, obviously, VAT on all of that, all the extra costs. So, but on top of that, we haven't even discussed the fact that their wages are going to go up. Like that, that's by the by.
Every cleaner.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think going into the budget, we knew that wages were going to go up. Sarah's wrote about it a lot. We knew it.
It was a given because
it wasn't even leaked. It was. We knew in the election it was. It was going to happen. And I remember reading in the election that they said that they were going to instruct. So obviously thinking forward, they were going to instruct the Fair Pay Commission to add inflation to it. And I remember sending it to a few people saying, nobody's commenting on this. Like, this is something that if you think inflation's shot up and it's creeping back down slowly, but if the Fair Pay Commission added in that, and that's what they did. The first recommendation when Conservatives were in power was 1188.
Yeah, so I remember reading that.
Pluses. Yeah. Then I thought to myself, 12 maybe. I thought they'll round it off at 12, and then it's 1221.
Yeah.
And you think I think that is a lot bigger than what people were expecting. A bigger jump, shall I say?
Yeah.
Because I think initially at 1188 that would have been a 3% jump, but now it's a 6% jump, 6.7%.
Well, it's less than Boris Johnson gave him.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, Boris Johnson, it was 10% that Boris Johnson...
I think inherently, I don't think they have an issue with people earning more. I don't think that's a problem. The problem, you know what bothers me about this? The government, all governments, I've seen it in America as well, they band it about like it's their gift to give.
Yes.
And I think they don't actually say the truth, which is your employer is going to have to make some really tough decisions to make this happen.
Well, government are always very generous with our money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
there.
always. And it's a headline figure that cost them nothing.
Have you seen that Dave Ramsey? He's got like a panel talk show, and he helps people not increase their net wealth by investments, but by paying off their debts. And
yes.
And he had Donald Trump on his podcast, and it was actually a very quick interview, but nonetheless 20 minutes of golden nuggets.
Did he restructure Donald's finances for him?
No, he did not.
Okay.
No, and he just sort of said to him, look, they were talking about wages and stuff like that, and the Donald as we call it,
the Donald.
He said, look, wages are going to go up, etc. I'm paraphrasing because it was 20 minutes and I've only got a few seconds on this, and he basically said, look, he goes, what bothers me, Donald, is that you guys, and I guess he classed him as a politician. He goes, you guys all talk about wages like it's your gift to give. He goes, as a business person, that government sets the stall and we do the rest. Business owners do the rest, and it's so true. As a business owner, we're the ones that take the risk employing people. And unfortunately, with all these changes that Angela Rayner's imposing, it's going to make things difficult, not impossible, but difficult.
I don't know if you remember, we were on the pod squad a few weeks ago, and it's months ago now, so it's before I went on holiday. And Mark Petrie was saying, I look after my customers. I've been in business for 20 years, and all the rest of it. And I did say to him that it's government's job to create the culture that we can grow a business, and there's no limit to the damage that they can do to that opportunity for growth. And they are not directly pulling money out of people's pockets, because obviously working people, with little air quotes flying there, won't get the increase in wages. You won't get increase in tax, but the knock-on effect of everything else, because what we're going to start getting into now is, and what I've mentioned before, is the wages prices spiral. And we're already in it. So, wages are going to go up. It pushes inflation up. It pushes price up inflation. But even more now, we are slapping on more and more taxes on business, which is going to be even more inflationary. Yeah. Plus all your inputs that's going to be coming from the supply chain, which is even more inflationary.
I've mentioned this worry. I mentioned it to Kate, and I said, if Fair Pay Commission are instructed to add inflation to rising wages, and all of these measures are now inflationary, then what happens to next year's wage increases?
It's inflationary.
Inflationary.
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember her exact answer for that, but she did answer.
She did mention that we won't. We hope. We hope that they won't get into the wages prices spiral. I would argue we're already there.
Yeah.
And we have been since COVID.
See, for me, I really don't mind paying people for a hard day's work. I think when you bundle it with all of these protections or over protections, I think we're in for a world of pain.
That's the other worry, and that does seem to be getting watered down now in consultation.
It does a little bit.
To be fair, I mean, it is batshit crazy to give someone full rights from day one, because if you take them on and they're useless, what do you do?
I'd say the worst thing. What you're going to see is she. I don't want to say she, because it's like, I'm not against her as such. But Angela Rayner's now saying that a lot of people in council and government will all work 4-day weeks. Well, what happens when there's a crisis?
I wasn't aware they actually worked at all, to be honest. Nothing seems to get done where we are. It's just they're always on a meeting or on a holiday or off with stress.
Yeah, but what's going to happen when there's an actual crisis? What we're going to say, everyone's out of offices on?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
That'd be a good day. Good day to be on your day off.
I just think,
didn't they try it in America, in certain states, and they've all basically abandoned it because they were saying that it's just not working.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out.
It's killing productivity. I think California tried it.
I think the problem is when California is probably quite extreme. I don't think UK is that far in, but I think when you come in with these really strong policies, they're just going to make themselves really undesirable.
It just seemed to me, I don't know what the body language of Rachel Reeves was. Like she'd had something completely removed from her, because she was saying that it's not the budget I wanted to deliver. And she looked so coy when they were interviewing her, like there was something in the background going, just something was off with her to be honest, because she was so.
I think what it is more than anything is that they realised that they had no basis to do what they did, so they just thought, we've got to either lie, and we can't lie anymore.
Yeah.
So, and look, I'm not just laying into them. Like I don't want people that voted for them to think that I'm just laying into them. The fact is, the other side probably would have done something similar.
And this and no disrespect to what I've been saying before is, and I said when the election was on, there's no difference between the two
unfortunately,
economically.
And I do get your
because
point.
We still know, they're saying growth. This is
the
planned demolition,
is,
basically.
No one's really, again, trying to deal with any issues.
I agree.
So for example, they have a mandate. They have the majority they need. It doesn't matter what Kemi Badenoch says on the other side of that table. Like, there's nothing. It just changes nothing.
No, sure.
Labour have a strong majority, just like Boris did, who didn't do what we needed. All right, you could argue COVID came by the by, but the fact is, they've got the majority. So then you look at business rates. So John Webber, who I did the podcast with about business rates, I don't know if you heard that one.
I didn't get around to...
lazy slob you are.
I know,
yeah, so he was saying, we spoke to him just before the election, and he said to me, tell you what, Stel, let's not do the podcast right now. Let's wait till the budget. He goes, it's really clear to him. He goes, that Labour's going to get in. He goes, so let's just wait it out. Let's see what majority they've got. And we'll do it after the budget, which was like 3 months different, or 4 months, was it? Yeah. From election, took their bloody time. And even he's emailed me in between saying, you know what, they've took so much time with this budget. Chances are we're all going to get what we wanted, which is major reform. Come the budget. Give me one piece of anything that had major reform.
Nothing.
So business rate, they're going to drop it a little bit, but it actually ends up higher for people.
Well, it does, because aren't they? I'm on the sort of rural business rates relief, and we're on because we're not town centre, we're out of town, so we get the relief of it.
And if you didn't get that, you'd probably get small business
rate relief. Yeah, we got that before, and then they changed it to rural rate relief, and we've only got one site, so we don't incur it on other sites. But isn't hospitality at the moment got a 75% discount?
Yeah,
and they're removing that and putting a 40% discount in. So you have to pay 35% more.
And also, the what you call it that hasn't been done for ages, the rate review.
Rate evaluation.
Yeah, so that's going to be higher than it was years ago, because obviously everything's higher than it was years ago. So they're in for a double sting. And he was saying, like, we were waiting for reform. And they promised reform, because he was talking to some people in Labour before, and they actually said, we're looking at full reform. So I don't understand
it's almost as this budget was written by extremely wealthy people who just said, look, we've got to raise 40 billion quid. You're not getting it from us. Where are you going to get it from? That small businesses can have it.
I don't know.
It doesn't address any of the issues that we've got. And it just makes things worse.
It is baffling.
Yeah.
And then I remember listening to a debate between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak. And I know a lot of people don't like Rishi Sunak, but I've made it clear I actually quite like him. Well, I like him based on what I know about him, shall I say. But I think he was honest. Like, he was honest over COVID when he was saying this is money that's not... Like, we're not just giving this money away. It's going to need to recoup. Everyone sort of shrugged it off and put their hands out to get the money. And then afterwards, when he became Prime Minister, again, he was talking about the money. Over the election, he said about all that money that left, everyone laughed at him like it was an excuse. And then I remember him doing a debate with Keir Starmer, and he was saying, Keir Starmer said, all these junior doctor strikes, train strikes, And he goes, well, how would you settle it? And he goes, not by just giving a pay rise. Yeah. We'll have to sit down and then what do they do when they get in?
Give them a pay rise.
Give pay rises.
And not only of the fact that they're giving them a pay rise, but all their pension liabilities in the future, which are running now into like nearly £1 trillion into the future, the liabilities are unfunded. Yeah. So some future generations are going to have to pick that bill up.
You know what it is with politicians? I was chatting to a good friend about this, and he goes, when it's bad things, they don't mind doing it 10 years onwards because the next government gets the blame. Yeah. But when it's good things, they don't want to do it. So, like, that's why nobody really cares about HS2, because when it's actually finished and there's good news, hopefully, that government in power gets the good news.
Do you think it'll ever get finished?
No, I think the problem is it's an absolute shit show. This is the problem. When you think 4 years at a time, and a project like that is a 10 to 15-year project, they would have been better off privatising it early on. Look at M6 toll road. Yeah. M6 toll road, they had a 15-year contract. as a private business, and then it's fell back into government hands. Well, that way around was probably better.
Just, I do like the M6 Toll because of the services.
I just like it because it's fast.
The services are really nice. You get a very nice set of people at the services. It's quite
I don't
lovely.
want to jinx anything, but I've not seen a police car or a speed camera on the M6 Toll.
Well, they don't want to pay the tolls, do they?
No.
It's budget cuts.
Yeah, stingy kids.
Yeah.
But no, it suits me nicely.
Yeah.
But the point is, and also
Nice
the
services.
whole, and a lot of people don't realise this, but HS2 was horrifically named from the beginning. It has nothing to do with high speed. It's probably no faster than the current speeds we have. But what it was designed to do, but poorly named because nobody would get behind it, was to remove the traffic restraints. So, for example, the current train system we have at the moment is buckling under the demand. So if you could split that off, then the old train line on the other side can then take more container loads. Yeah?
I get you.
And if you get more container loads on, then you get them off the motorway. But nobody explained that properly. Now, most people know. Now, I was talking to someone the other day. It's a friend of ours that comes to the farm at the warehouse, where the warehouse is, and he's a builder and he's got a digger. And they said to him, if you want to earn a bit of extra money, come to HS2 with your digger and everything. So he goes, and he gives them an invoice for like 200 quid, 250 quid. And they're like, well, we can't do anything with this. Like, we're only authorised to pay anything above 1,000. Yeah?
Wow.
And he's like, well, what do you want me to do?
Bill us for 1,000.
He goes, bill us for 1,042 or something. Don't go for 1,000 because it's stupid. Yeah. And now they're employing, at HS2, investigators to clamp down on that.
Well,
it's not his fault.
They had to build a bat shed. Did you read that?
Yeah,
one?
I've seen that. It looks quite cool to
100
me.
million quid's worth of... It is a very nice bat shed. 100 million quid. How on earth do you spend 100 million quid on a shed? It's a very nice shed.
If you gave me 100 million quid, I could.
But I can understand why you just said that the minimum invoice is £1,000. So I suppose you're gonna rack it up quite easily.
But this is the problem. Like, government shouldn't be involved in certain projects. Like, they're not designed to. Like, it's not made for it. You know, think of like all the people that built bridges and train lines back in the day. That wasn't government. It was engineers.
It was, but you know those projects. A lot of them were funded by what was called, I think at the time it was called the Bradbury Pound.
Okay.
So basically, government issued that money debt-free. So it was interest-free because those big projects that were generational projects like bridges and tunnels and stuff like that, that the government said basically, you build it, we'll fund it, but we're going to issue the money sort of side of the Bank of England. It's going to be debt-free. I mean, obviously, it's very unpopular when you're sidestepping interest and bankers.
You've got NIMBYs that moan about everything. Like, you know, it's just typical. Like, it makes me laugh. Like, yeah, just, I don't know, mate. Like, put it this way. The fact is, at the moment anyway, there's not much to get excited about.
There isn't.
So, to anybody listening to this, we're really sorry if it depresses you. Now, on the upside, on the downside, they've increased capital gains. On the upside is don't worry, because you're probably not going to make much profit.
Yeah, there's going to be very little capital to gain, so that's... They don't think they're going to be buying anything, are they?
Farmers are fuming. Now, to be fair to farmers, they don't need a lot to set them off, yeah? Like, you know, my landlord, who's a farmer, likes to come in and have a whinge every day about something.
We're surrounded by him as well, so they come in for lunch, and we talk, and... Yeah, they aren't the happiest bunch when it comes to this.
But you know what it is with them? They'll get up and they'll go.
They're starting to organise.
Exactly.
Because now they're saying... I mean, you know, it's like you've got a grievance, get in your tractor and go and protest. No, we're going to put an injunction against you to stop your protest.
Yeah, you only had 1,800.
Just like that's like they did on the continent with the farmers. And I mean, in France, they just
you know what
put a
they're
concrete
do?
block on the front of the...
Farmers don't care.
No, I know.
They'll play nice initially.
Yeah.
If they don't get what they want, they'll just turn up with their tractors and they'll just park it wherever
they're starting to think... They're talking about blockading ports.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing, they're going to start doing slow drives up and down to block traffic off. That's the second thing. So a few years ago, I don't know if you remember when they had all the beef, the dairy and the beef farming issues in Holland, where the government were basically compulsorily purchasing farms because for climate change, because there was too many cows, etc., and all the rest of it. So a load of Dutch and French farmers came over and were briefing the National Farmers Union. of the tactics that they used because they thought it was coming here. That England was going to be the next country to start saying, well, you need to cut down your herd sizes and all the rest of it, which I don't know if it's happened or not. So I know they're already prepared.
Mate, they don't mess around.
Yeah.
Farmers do not mess around. And I understand why, because they're at the thick of it all the time. Like, they don't usually step off. Like, they're always at the coalface.
Yeah.
You know, and I sort of get it. You know, I remember watching Jeremy Clarkson once, and he says something like, why do farmers always moan about the weather? And the other guy goes, I think it was Charlie, and he goes, he says, because the weather never does what they want. And it's so true. Like, you know, when we were doing that market report the other week, I must have rang like 10 or 15 different farmers to get the market report about potatoes.
Yeah.
Mate, like one of them, like, I'm not offended if he's listening, because he's someone I know, but it was like, effing this, effing that. And I was like, are you on record now? Like, shall I take notes? And he's like, of course I'm not on effing record. I'm effing pissed off. Like, because I've got all this equipment just sitting in the ground doing F all. He goes, oh, swearing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether to write the notes or not. So I just thought, type anyway and see what happens. Like, because he might say at the end of it, yeah, but that he didn't. But he was fuming.
Well, we've had sort of farmers flooded out here. I mean, obviously, you know, the back part of last year. One of the farmers, his tractor hit a sinkhole and it took him 3 months to get the bloody thing out.
Wow.
It's, it's just, I don't think we realised how hard that business is.
Yeah,
how much risk
I think
there
we
is.
should be throwing them favours.
I think we should be looking after them. They're providing the food security for this country.
It's not just that. What they do to the countryside, I know they get paid for it. Well, I don't know how exactly, but you see them driving down country lanes, cutting the hedges. You see them cleaning the signs.
Yep.
You see them unblocking the drains in the countryside.
Well,
you know,
when it's snowing here, there's a farm down Common Lane, sort of behind the shop. You go down the lane, there's a farm. He gets his plough out every year and clears the roads for us. The council won't even touch our side.
Who's lifting all the crap that's been fly tipped in the countryside? It ain't the council, mate.
Well, the reason why the countryside looks so nice is because of farmers.
Exactly.
You know, that's why we've got such a beautiful sort of countryside. You know, when you step out of the towns. But can I just ask another question, because I'm slightly confused about the. So they've taken the exemption off family farms or farms or anything over $1 million is a 20% inheritance tax.
Correct.
But that's now applying to businesses as well, isn't it?
I don't know.
Because I've got an article here. So let me just go into this one. There's a guy who he's a guy called Steve Perez. He owns Vodka Kick and Hooch. He owns those brands. He's just cancelled expanding his factory in Chesterfield. There was 50 jobs going to be created at the canning factory, and he's basically said there's no point in doing it. He had 20 million quid in to invest to expand. He's got a restaurant, spa. He's got a farm in Chesterfield in the Peak District that supplies meat and produce for his restaurants. And he's basically said that what's the point now, because I could pass the business down inheritance tax free because it's under sort of family business rule. From April 2026, properties valued at more than $1 million will have to pay a levy rate of 20%. So it's not just farmers that's been pulled into this. By the looks of it, it's pretty much every business.
That AO guy, he said that. I think he said, I'm paraphrasing because it was over a week or 2 weeks ago now. But he said they make £8 million a year profit, and he said based on the measures that they'd heard, that obviously they calculated it. It would be an extra $1.5 million. So that's $1.5 million off their profit if they stand still. But they're not going to stand still. They're going to increase their prices.
Sure they are.
Yeah, and I know everyone thinks, like, you know, I was on X the other day. I always like X. I've liked it before, but it was Twitter. I've never really come off it. I quite like it. And
why would you come off it? Because Elon Musk's got it.
No. I mean, over the years, I've probably deleted Instagram. I've deleted Facebook off my phone. Yeah. But what I mean is that's one thing that it's always been a constant. And even when it was like weird, like I'd probably just comment less, like, and I just think, like, I was looking at a few people saying, like, yeah, stuff Tesco, stuff them, and I was like, has anybody done the calculation to see how much profit Tesco make per store? It's all right,
2%, isn't it?
It's like, I think it's like 1 to 2%.
Yeah,
like,
and their margins are razor thin in.
I don't know. You weren't on the podcast recently. I'm not sure if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I went to our Tesco about a week ago. Maybe I told you in our WhatsApp group.
I think I heard you saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went in, and as I was walking in, you know when you just get this like spidey sense, like step off a bit. The alarms were going off. I stepped off.
Yeah.
There was a lady behind me getting a trolley, and I just put my arm there, like not to stop her. I don't want to mansplain, but I just put my arm there, like, and then a guy comes out with a trolley, and all I could imagine is that when like I just stopped, and this trolley was full of alcohol. I mean, expensive alcohol. Yeah, we're talking everything was like 40, 50 quid upwards, and we're not a big Tesco. It's a small town, and I sort of held the lady behind me, and the security guard almost looked like he was helping the guy. Like he had his hand on the trolley. Like, I'm like, how about you give it a bit of resistance? Like you pull it a little bit, like. Just something. Don't make it look like you're helping the guy leave the store.
Did he load the car for him as well?
Well, I'm convinced. I was thinking about this. I never saw him get in a car, and the guy was absolutely inebriated. He was drunk, drugged up, whatever. I think he walked round the back and got on the train. I think he got on the train and left.
Jesus.
And remember, Benico in the group said he saw something similar.
Yes.
Because he's in Southport where he is.
Yes.
And there's a train, and he said that something happened near him, and I did wonder to myself after he said that. Oh, I wonder. So I can't. So all these losses, and we've seen it in America. All these losses that the big stores have taken. Everyone was like, oh, well, they can afford it. It's reparations. Well, now they're closing.
Well, yeah. I mean, San Francisco.
Like,
apparently, the centre of San Francisco, there's no way you can buy anything from.
No,
because it's all gone. Because didn't America have a $1,000 shoplifting law? So if it's less than
$1,000,
$250,
they
didn't come and investigate. So
yeah.
So obviously, quickly add up what's in the trolley and then ring the police. Hold on, let me just give us a sec. Let's just scan it so we can see. Okay, right, I've got to ring.
Give
the
that
police
bottle back, then the police won't come.
Yes.
But the, like, and over here, I don't know if I've heard it on Radio 4. There is a big scam at the moment where people are stealing champagne, spirits, and they're getting loaded onto a container and let out the country pretty fast. So that's what they think is. It's a really big thing. Like, Google it. Like,
it's organised then.
Organised, yeah. So it's mostly spirits and champagne. So I was listening to Radio 4, and there's this.
Have
really
you got
nice
the number where we can speak to these people if they want to just sell some?
No. It's bulk. It's getting boxed and gone, mate. Sorry.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but I was listening to a Radio 4, and it's a champagne store in London. It's a bit like Berry and Bros that do whiskey, but champagne only.
Okay.
And they said the thief who came in and stole champagne 2 weeks before came in and was incredulous. Where's your champagne gone? And they're like, 1 minute, mate, you stole it like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
You've not restocked?
And he was. They were like baffled by this conversation. They were said like, we've moved all the champagne downstairs. We've put the till upstairs near the front door now. Like, and he was annoyed.
Yeah, I can understand it disrupting his business.
Yeah, well, but this is the problem when thieves think now that it's a soft touch.
There's a mandate for them to do it.
Yeah,
because there's no consequence.
I think that we've gone too soft. Like we're too soft.
Well, I think again, I'm a great believer that whoever's driving the business sets the tone for the business.
Yeah.
If you're nasty with your customers, it gives you mandate for your staff to be the same. And after COVID and after the VIP pipeline and the amount of money that got hoofed out into private hands for PPE that was useless, I don't know, people looking and saying, if they're going to do it, why can't I do it?
The problem is, I think thieves do whatever they want regardless. I don't think they look elsewhere for validation. I think thieves are thieves. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, but the whole thing with the COVID money and all that, like, I remember the media frenzy. Like, it was, there's no masks. Like, there was articles for days in the red tops, no masks. Britain, people are going to die because there's no mask. And they set off this frenzy. Don't you remember the videos of people fighting over bog roll?
Yes.
Like, and it's because of the media frenzy.
There was a guy down the road that had a garage full.
But when you can't leave the house because we're stuck, and then you're seen on social media like that, I can see how it sets you off a bit. Like, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying the media have a lot to answer for.
Well, they created hysteria. But
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
that was part of the, and if you want to ever talk about gaslighting, being gaslit, then don't look no further than COVID.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of
hopefully we've all
hysteria and
learnt a
fear.
thing
I mean, I
or
hope
two,
we don't have to go back there again. But
No.
But yeah, I mean, we had isn't there a department in government that's the nudge department that's...
Well, the nudge department gets a lot of bad rep, to be honest, but I actually think it's I think it started with really good intentions. So it started based on a book, yeah? So when... We'll finish this topic shortly, because we wanted to finish by now, but we've done it all on the budget. But basically, the nudge department came because they didn't... George Osborne and... who was Prime Minister? Cameron. They wanted to sort of try collecting tax. It started there first, trying to collect tax a bit differently. So rather than being scary, you owe tax. So what the nudge department decided to do was write something like, hey, your tax is due. Did you know that other people just like you that owe this amount pay early or by this date?
I didn't know that.
Hoping that those people would be like, oh, I'm gonna be a good civic person.
Do my
Whereas actually, when you're late on tax, if you're owed money, should you be expecting a friendly letter? Maybe number one.
Yeah, you start off nice and work down, don't you?
And you work downwards.
Yeah.
But then it's like, all nicey. Now every department does this nicey until it's not so nice.
Yeah.
And then, but really, it should be a bit more formal. I think we've lost formality, is what I think the nudge department, and it's based on a book. And I read the book a while ago, and I do understand it for non-urgent things. Yeah. For non-urgent things, you could say a little statistic like, "Hey, did you know that X amount of people do this on this time?" That's fine. But when it's, you owe us 400 grand of tax, mate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, no, I don't know. But, yeah. Did you want to finish with anything on this one?
I just want to wrap up with some numbers. So, I went onto the Office of Budget Responsibilities website, and they've got all the numbers there. They didn't mention Rachel Reeves's £40 billion black hole. I must admit that was missing. But income this government's going to be 1,148.7 billion, and we are going to be spending 1,300 billion is going to be spent. So we're 1.27 billion deficit this year, and we've run a deficit now since 1948. I think it's only been 11 years we've had a surplus. So the debt's accelerated. I think the debt interest this year is 332 billion. So it's as big as health, education and defence added together, and then some. So as a country, we are completely living beyond our means.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not. No one's addressing this growing
on top of that,
stack of
so
debt.
were the Americans.
And, 37 trillion last count.
And I do think Labour. Very rarely do we have a one-term government in the UK.
No, we have twos
as
and
America,
threes,
to be honest. America's quite similar in that respect.
Yeah, we have twos and threes.
But I would argue that if Trump administration does well,
yes,
and we don't want anybody to do bad unless you're like a terrorist state, but like if you're a good country,
remember, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Right, that's true.
It is a matter of perspectives.
Okay, well, let's give it this perspective
before you get emails.
Yeah, it's true, I might, but let's give them all the benefit of the doubt. If that team does really well, the UK, who have very similar population outlook, and how we do aspire to be like them, and they aspire to be a bit like us.
Are we going to reform?
No, I don't think that's going to happen. Personally, it's my opinion. I've done the calculations with a bit of ChatGPT help. They just can't do it in one or two terms.
Yeah.
Like they need a lot, and you've got to assume that everything's crumbling around them for that amount of time. I actually think that if Trump does well. If he does well, that does play into the new Conservatives.
Yeah, whatever form they may take. Yeah,
because people will look at that and think, "Wow, they've done okay there," and we're actually going the opposite way at the moment. And I'm not telling you it doesn't matter who you vote for or anything. It's just how do you want your life to be? Yeah. And I know we've got an American customer. And over the whole election cycle, he's been messaging me and like saying, how he's like, pro-Trump, and a lot of it isn't about all the rhetoric. It's just about what's left in their pocket at the end of the week. And are we going to get there as people in the UK?
I personally think that we're having our Biden moment now. That we've got.
It's a bit soon to say.
It's a fairly. I'm not talking about. It's a fairly incompetent government who are high tax, and they believe that. I mean, the Labour Party believes that they can tax you out of trouble, and high tax and high spend is not a great. It's a massive anchor and a drag on the economy. It's creating so much friction now, even before these things have come in.
What is it they call it? Fiscal drag.
Fiscal drag. Yeah, it's created so much friction.
I hope you're wrong, because I don't want to live in an economy that suffers. But if that's the pain we have to go through to get to the next term and make sharper decisions, then who knows? It is what it is, I guess. Yeah. They got voted in. We live in a democracy, so we carry on.
Yeah.
I think what will shock people is if all these taxes go up, but services don't actually get better.
Well, this is the other thing. They've hoofed like nearly 30 billion quid into the NHS. I'd just love to see what we're going to get for it, which is probably doctors driving better cars.
Possibly. I'm not going to lie. I get great service from the NHS. Like, maybe we're quite lucky where we are. I don't know. We're in a small town like you. Well, we're in a small town like you, maybe.
Yeah.
Similar to Orkley, we've got a few major cities next to us, so we're quite lucky. But again, we've just got to wait and see. I think it's going to be tricky.
We've got a lot of challenges coming up.
Yeah,
and it just feels like we've got through COVID, and then we're thinking, right, we've got some clear air ahead of us. We can actually start projecting out. We can start thinking about new things and growing the business. And it just feels like we've got through a war and they're coming round and shooting the survivors. That's how it feels to me. It's just,
That's a good point.
It's just like we've just got through it. Oh right, we're going to shoot you then.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't understand why they have done this in one massive hit when they could feather these tax increases in slowly. Unless they want to tank the economy, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. When I saw the budget, I just thought, what on earth?
Well, you weren't alone.
No.
Yeah, you always wanted to be on your own and be like the free thinker. Unfortunately, on this instance,
unfortunately, I'm in good company.
You're in lots of good company.
I'm usually the contrarian in the room, aren't I?
Yeah, this time you were.
And by the way, you gave me a little bit of feedback about my sound last time when you said that I've got a squeaky chair.
Okay, yeah.
I have a new chair.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for letting me know in the middle of the podcast.
It's Bools. I've bought myself a Bools chair.
Oh, very nice.
It's very comfortable and it doesn't squeak.
So why did you choose the next story, which is Green King's prison training initiatives? I'm making a bit of a switch there because obviously we spent quite a lot of time on that budget one, but you've got to. It needs its time, that one. So Green King is expanding its efforts to support prison leavers there's lots of prison leavers at the moment, by expanding its training facilities at HMP. I should make a joke of that, sorry. These kitchens aim to train 60 inmates annually, equipping them with essential hospitality. On the whole, this sounds like a real good story. What do you think, David?
Yeah, do you know what? The first thing I saw when I read this was, I thought, Christ, is it so bad that they're going to have to, hospitality has to go to prisons to start retraining people? And I'm just thinking, like, are we at that point now that there's no one's applying for a job?
Have been doing it for years,
yeah.
to be fair.
Well, ironically, and then I started doing a little bit of research, and there's a family friend called Valdi, who is an ex-prison officer and wants
Vivaldi.
No, Valdi. Valdemar Vavroche is an indirect relation through marriage. Yeah. And he's an ex-prison officer who now runs a charity called Tempus Novo, which does exactly the same thing. It's placement. So I had a chat to him and just to try and get some information out of him. And the stats are frightening. So without any work opportunity, when you release somebody out into civilian life or free life, not say civilian life, 30% are going to reoffend within 1 year and 45% within 2 years. But with a work placement, work opportunity, it drops to 5%.
That's great. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. And it was kind of a more of a, after all this, I wanted something that felt a little more positive.
Who'd have thought letting ex-criminals out, because they're ex-criminals, and giving them nothing to do,
yeah,
and no finances to think of,
yeah,
and nowhere to live.
That's right.
Who'd have thought that they'd turn to crime again?
I don't know. It's radical, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think that everyone in society deserves a chance. Yeah. And if someone's done something wrong, or they genuinely feel bad about it, and they've paid their dues, even if they don't feel bad about it and they've paid their dues, who actually cares how they feel emotionally? Like, if they're genuinely ready to start a new life, like, then who are we to say no?
I entirely agree.
You know,
and what Valdi actually said which was really interesting, because he was a prison officer in HMP Leeds, and he said lots of these people haven't even had a first chance, let alone a second chance. The amount of broken homes, drugs, abuse when kids are growing up, abject poverty. These guys have grown up with no education, no role model, no guidance, and they end up in prison. And some of them, obviously, not everyone's going to be able to take this opportunity, because there's only certain people. I mean, you don't want to be showing knife skills to somebody who stabbed somebody, I guess. I don't know. I'm just giving them access to knives.
Again,
I don't know.
It's a real tricky situation, isn't it?
I don't know how the criteria they pick the prisoners.
Well, I think they have to be like.
I believe they're taking them from open prisons.
Yes.
So we're not got to. Is it category A? We're not talking
de-escalated.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd think
it's people that have made hurty tweets.
Well, they're going to need.
There's plenty of them now, isn't there?
Well, there's loads of them. But no, I do think everyone deserves to get on the path of finding something they enjoy, and like you said, like, there is a lot of different backgrounds, and it doesn't matter what side you're on politically. You want everyone in society to feel like they're contributing.
Sure, you do, yeah.
And
on the flip side of that, if you put someone back in prison, it's $48,000 a year.
Yeah.
Just to keep that person garrisoned in a prison.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's got to be opportunities. I mean, the charity that he runs, they get them into manufacturing, they get them all over the place. But I love the idea that they've set these kitchens up in prisons to mimic their kitchens, and that's some expense when you think about how many. They've set 5 or 6 kitchens up now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's some expense to get that going. And 400 people they're going to aim for by the end of 2025.
It always made me laugh, because I remember someone that criticising Timson, saying, "Oh, like, they're cutting keys." I'm like, but they're not asking for your address. Yeah. They're just cutting a key, like they're not
going to mould it into plastic, either, and under the counter,
Well, but even so, if they did, they're going to have to follow you home.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to have to see where you live. Like, maybe you should have a bit more about you.
They're not a visiting locksmith, are they?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like there is a stigma in the UK.
Sure.
Well, most countries, it is stigmatising to go jail. Like, that is probably half the point, if I'm honest. Like, you're locking them away to think about their time, and and also it feels like some reparation too. That, well, maybe not reparation, not the right word, but it feels like the person, what they're called, the victim, feels like justice has been done, and you lock someone away to think about their time, and obviously. But how long do you keep hitting them over the head with a stick?
Yeah.
Like, and I think this is where a lot of governments, not just the last one, the one before, many before, the last 20, 30 years, it's all right locking people away, but what is the plan?
Yeah.
What is the plan? And only since Timpsons have really pushed along with this. We did a podcast with a guy called Darren Burns from Timpsons a few years ago. And the way he spoke about it was just like, look, it's good to do this, And if you think years ago, businesses that were run by Quakers years ago, like Cadbury's and so on, they cared about the social aspect. And I don't maybe think at that time they took people back from prison, but then prison population back then was probably very minor.
They built towns.
Yeah, they built
Bourneville was built for workers, wasn't it?
You still can't have a different colour door than purple anyway now.
You know?
So, no, that's their thing.
Wow.
But it's just down the road from here.
Yeah.
But no, I think that what's happened to civic responsibility from companies too? Well, they're probably being taxed to death, so they can't do it. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah. It doesn't make any reference to that. It doesn't dovetail into the fact that
wasn't on purpose. Actually, I just
those
got there
400 guys from prisons were the first to go. That got rid of when the national insurance rise came in next year.
Yeah. So, I do think that they, anybody, I'd employ someone from prison.
I would, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have had guys before that have come out of prison and have said they've been very honest.
I don't think I'd give a crap. If it was on their CV, Like, see, I always wonder sometimes when they say, "Oh, you can't look at that, you can't look at this." If it's just if they're back in society and it's on their CV, then for me, I just don't see it as an issue.
Well, we had a guy that did the potatoes for us years and years ago, and he was very honest. I can't for the life of me, I can't remember what he was in for. It was something like theft or something, multiple thefts, and he just said he was a dick when he was a kid, and he got in with a bad crowd, and that's where it went from, and then it just escalated. And he was here for a couple of years, and then he moved away with his family.
I'd probably take someone on that did insider trading and take them on like for an accounts role or something, because then they'd know about
Nick Leeson.
They'd know about money, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
like the guy out of what's it called, that film with
Wolf of Wall Street.
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, exactly. Gordon Gekko. What's the film called?
Yeah, Gordon Gekko.
Wall Street. Oh, Wall Street, wasn't it?
But,
yeah. Greed is good.
I don't know. I just think, look, I think it's a good thing. I think well done to Green
King.
I
take my hat off to him. It was just after all the depression that we've got of the budget, I just thought it's just nice to see somebody doing the right thing.
Well, Labour did it. It's not Green King. Labour did it.
What's that?
Government did it. Government made it happen. It wasn't Green King. It was government.
Was it?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they always take the good news.
Oh, right. So they say, sorry, I get you.
Yeah, get with it.
I'm sorry, I was not with it. I thought you were being serious, but you were being ironic.
You missed the tone.
You have to hold the flag up that says I'm being ironic.
So in these times, you don't know what's what.
Everything seems to be a joke, doesn't it?
Next story, young man. McDonald's UK financial performance. McDonald's UK has reported a significant. I love the word significant. I think it was like 1%. But anyway, dropping from 165 million operating profit to 11 million. But their sales were still strong, I think. Profit decreased and primarily attributed 48 million impairment related to investments and tangible assets alongside ongoing inflationary pressures even affecting food, paper and utilities. The company acknowledges challenges such as declining footfall in high street locations, but remains optimistic. You won't be surprised to know, David, that the other day I went to a McDonald's with the boys because I thought I'd treat them, because over half term I was working a lot and I didn't really do anything with them, and we went out and I thought, you know what, let's just grab something, and it was rammed. Honestly, I was thinking about this story because you told me you were choosing it, and I thought, like, if this is struggling.
This is what impressed me, because every time we drive past one where we are, I mean, there's one in the retail park near we are, it's full. And it just shows you the behemoth. I mean, the turnover 1.8 billion.
Chump change.
Which is because it's 59% of the revenue is in America still.
Yeah.
Or is it 49 and the rest of it's? But what America is the amount of money that America spends on burgers is just. It's just enormous, as are Americans, presumably. 1.8 billion turnover, 45% gross profit off the food, it's just healthy. But it's just everything else. It's heating, lighting, wages, everything else that comes.
It hits them too.
Yeah, and this is my point. If the big boys have been pushed down, sort of to 35 million quid net profit from 129, then when we're complaining about the struggles that we're having with packaging and energy and everything else. I mean, try repairing something these days.
Yeah.
Or replacing something even. And if you've got to have a new range, for God's sakes. I mean, the sheer cost of everything. And that all stems from energy,
Also, what is missing is the slowness of things. For example, we put some metal steps up for our office, container office. We've had the container office in place now for probably 2 months. The metal guy brought the steps. Can you fit it? No, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. No, I'm busy. Why'd you deliver them? Oh, now I've had to ring another metal guy because this one's decided he don't want to do it. And you think everything, there is backlog in everything. Yeah. And that has a cost. When something you pay for, so for example, Ryan, my finance manager, we were talking about, we had a meeting on Friday. We were talking about our new haulier. And some of the problems we had with our old hauliers, because you had an order come without a pallet. That was meant to be on a pallet.
Yeah.
And you think...
They just took the spikes to the batter and tried to lift it that way, hadn't they? Yeah, you just challenge us.
Yeah. And that guy was sent to test you that day. And you think, we were talking about the new company, and I spoke about them, and it occurred to me that the things that I was talking about were very basic, that they'd achieved. And that's where we've got to. That we're applauding the fact that the deliveries got there without damages, without being late. That is very normal.
It does seem that we're going backwards. It doesn't seem like we're progressing at all when you tell me stuff like this.
But I'd imagine a company like McDonald's that likes to hedge far away.
Yeah.
All these things, like I remember chatting to my friend who owns quite a few, and she said to me like they like to hedge, like nuggets for example, 3 years, packaging 5 years, electric 3 to 5 years, and you can't do these things when everything's slow.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I don't know if you remember us having a conversation that I sort of, my other hobby, apart from sitting talking to you, I do a bit of woodwork.
Oh,
I'm
playing with your wood.
I like to be a bit. I like to think I'm a bit of a Renaissance man. You know, I've not got into sculpting yet, but this time found a bigger piece of marble. I trade commodities as well.
Yeah.
So wheat, coffee, stuff like that. I like cryptos. I love cryptos. Obviously, I'm a crypto guy. So I was having a trade.
And me.
Yeah, yourself. Yeah, you're the hodler from way back when, aren't you?
You can make fun of me later. You can tell everyone, don't you?
No, I'm not going to tell you. No, no, we're not going to. You can tell Pete. You can tell anybody you want, but yeah, we can probably save that for another day. Bitcoin, by the way, is at its all-time high.
Yeah.
Just I'll throw that one as well.
Shame I can't partake. But
never mind. Yeah, but you hodled. But you tried. You tried. Was there. Yeah. You missed the mark a little bit, but you tried, mate. So anyway, this chap was doing mentoring program, and his wife, he's Canadian. His wife worked for McDonald's, and she was retiring in 2021. So this is down when the lockdown was on, so it was 2020. And she was telling us that McDonald's have got a hell of a problem coming up because their supply chain is so long that you won't see any cost increases in inflation for at least 3 to 4 years. So, and obviously here we are now. It's come through. And I was a bit surprised when she said that. Yeah, we buy a packaging, and she was involved in she was like the main concessionaire for importing all the stuff into Canada. I think the West Coast, East Coast Canada.
And obviously,
I was shocked.
When times are good, that's great. Because you've got a lot of consistency. You know where you stand. We were talking about it on the Potato Podcast the other day with David Mitchell and Patrick Claybon. We were talking about how essentially buying a contract potato is hedging. You're hedging a price, and everyone is hedging their prices, whether it's gas, electric, chemical, and that hopefully gives some of an umbrella. So it's so McDonald's, but sometimes it goes out of sync. But what you're seeing at the moment is McDonald's really hyper focusing on great service, which for McDonald's probably means that it's okay service compared to everywhere else, but still it's service that's acceptable. And but offers. Yeah. I saw something the other day popped up. Was it on a YouTube ad, like £5 for a meal? And so they're really pushing hard. They know that they're not making lots of money, but they want people to keep that routine.
I was listening to another sort of news article, and it was one of the potato merchants manufacturers and the chippers in America have just had to shut 2 or 3 plants because the discounts that they're giving, so they're not shifting the volume.
So that's Lamb and Weston.
That's right, yeah.
Lamb and Weston have shut down.
Right, yes.
However, I follow a guy on X called McFranchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a name. Yeah, and he's a McDonald's franchisee. And he said the whole story was blown out of proportion because guess what? McDonald's don't use Lamb and Weston.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I was,
right.
So, now I need to go back and read the story and see.
I read the story. And it was just saying due to
all the stories over here was McDonald's supplier.
But they were saying
down.
that they were discounting and they were cutting portion sizes to discount through.
McDonald's have never really, in the last few years anyway.
Well, that's presumably why that they have no relationship to it. So so they mothballed a couple of factories.
But the fact is, you know what? I'm laughing at the moment. Abide by the by, because you know a little bit about American politics.
I do,
and you'll know that RFK.
I do.
Who was absolutely normal up until a few months ago, but now he's a loony. Yeah,
That's because he's gone off the reservation. But
he made a really good point. I was watching him in a video the other day, and he said, "Why is it American cornflakes have 40 ingredients, and Canadian and European cornflakes have 3?"
Yes.
Now, he's going to go after them. Now, I think McDonald's have been cleaning up acts over there as well. Now, McDonald's in the UK are very clean.
Yes,
when you look at the fries declaration in America and the fries declaration in England and Europe, or UK and Europe, they're night and day.
Yeah.
You know, so it'd be interesting to see how far they go over there. And again, that might be inflationary to some degree for the Americans because cleaning up ingredients is expensive.
Well, the reason why there's 40 ingredients in there instead of 3 is because those 40 are cheaper than putting the 3 in the first place.
There's no other reason. Yeah, no other reason.
I mean, America has something like 15,000 food additives that are banned in Europe. I think I saw his tweet, and it was like when people were sort of putting more things, going further with it. And so yeah, we'll see what.
There's a really good book that's worth reading. Well, there's two actually that point to this sort of story. So one is Ray Dalio's Principles. So in there he talks. Ray Dalio is the richest hedge fund manager or owner or hedge fund owner, whatever, in the world.
Yeah.
And he talks about hedging, and he was instrumental with. They might be able to find an excerpt if you don't want to talk about if you don't want to read it because of his management principles, which is why I read it. You could just find the excerpt about Tyson Foods and McDonald's and how he helped them hedge long enough to then bring a chicken nugget to the world. Because the problem is before then, before the 80s and 90s, chicken was a very volatile product in terms of commodity prices, whereas now. Look at how much chicken's moved in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Hardly any. If anything, it's rocketed downwards.
Yeah.
You know. So, and then also the other book that's worth reading, and it pertains to ingredients in American food, is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, which is an amazing book if you're in hospitality. But he's the one that essentially brought Shake Shack to how we know it today. And when they were bringing Shake Shack to the UK, they had a container of McCain's fries come into the UK. And at the ports, they basically got rejected, and they say like, well, I'm paraphrasing now because it's been a while since I've read the book, but this container of McCain's fries is on its way to the UK. It gets to the UK and it gets rejected because it had loads of American ingredients in there that are bad for people, I'd assume. So they then find crinkle fries from McCain's UK, liked them that much that they started importing the fries from England
into America.
To America. I don't know how long they did that for. I don't know whether the Americans copied it after a while, but they did stop importing it after a while because they must have found a solution over there. But I do think, like the UK, in comparison to most of Europe and all of America, is ahead when it comes to food regulations, like massively way ahead.
And I know this is what they're worried now with. They're saying that they want a trade deal with America, or they're trying to sort something out. They say, and we're back to the chlorinated chicken. And
has it started again?
It started again.
The fact is, like it scares people.
Yeah. We've had chlorinated salad for years, but don't worry about that.
But here's the other thing: what is chicken washed with in the UK? No one knows.
I haven't got a clue.
Sodium hydroxide, which is also called caustic soda.
Yeah, it's an acid.
Because no, it's an alkaline, very strong, and it knocks the pH completely off, so that germs can't exist in that environment.
Yeah.
So what happens is in a chicken factory, they go through a scalder, all the feathers get plucked, and then it gets dropped very quickly into a warm solution of caustic soda. Now, I'm not bothered about that. It doesn't bother me because it's at such low trace amounts. When I cook it in the oven, it's fine. Now, would I want my food covered in bleach? Now, it's not covered in bleach. It's a chlorinated bath. Now, the fact is, I probably wouldn't because I like to eat better food.
Yeah.
However, look, we can't be food snobs. Yeah, this is the problem with what we've become. Like, there's some people that look down on other people for the food they choose to eat.
That's me.
that is you, to be fair.
No, not really.
No, but I think the fact is that there is this misunderstanding in the UK. So, for example, nearly all chicken in the UK is processed in accordance of halal. Yeah, nearly all chicken. Now, the only difference is that only a percentage of it is actually certified. Yeah? Again, if you said to people, "Oh, we're eating halal," and I'm not bothered, eat what you want. Like, it does not bother me. Like, but if you said to people, they'd be outraged. The problem is people are outraged, but they don't know why they're outraged. They don't know. So these people that are all upset about chlorinated chicken, it's probably never going to come to the UK. It didn't come last time. It's probably not going to come this time. And who's importing chicken from another country? We've got enough chicken over here. We've got chicken up to our eyeballs in the UK. Yeah. So. Yeah, like no one's bothered about the lamb that's coming from New Zealand that has, worse worse grown practices than the lamb in the UK.
And it's vac sealed and ambiently shipped, isn't it, as well? It's not frozen.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, no,
it's nitrogen flushed, isn't it, and all that sort of stuff.
Look, people just choose what suits their political agenda.
Yeah.
I try to look at facts a little bit more objectively. There's a woman that I follow on Twitter who I do respect. She's a journalist, and her name's Joanna Blytheman. I've got a couple of her books. She's based in Scotland, and a few years ago she was talking about chicken, chlorinated chicken, and how it should never be allowed in the UK. And I said to her, did you know that all chicken in the UK is washed in caustic soda? She never responded, which was a shame because I quite like her. Yeah. But she didn't want to know.
It doesn't suit the narrative, though, does it?
No, and I think it's all right setting this fear out there, but I don't. It does me in. Like, it really does me in.
But if we get cheaper energy and we get cheaper gas and get cheaper ultimately electricity, then just do the bloody deal, because we're not getting anything from Russia, are we?
So I'm listening to a really good podcast at the moment with a guy called Bjorn Lomborg. I may have said it wrong. He's Swedish, yeah? Speaks great American English, so he can understand everything he's saying. But he says all the coal plants that are being opened in China don't have...
Scrubbers.
Yeah. So all the ones in England, America, all have scrubbers, yeah? So it's all right saying, they're opening coal plants, but they're not got scrubbers, so that all that crap goes into the air.
Sure.
So, and he said, like, if you're in India in autumn, he said, he goes, because it's like the smog in old London, he goes, like back in the day. Yeah. So, again, it's like, all right for them, but not for us,
Well, they've just built a, I think it's like a viaduct, and it's a conveyor belt. And it's the longest conveyor belt in the world. I think obviously it's got like dumping stations and pickup stations.
Where's this?
China.
Oh.
And I think it's something like 1,300 miles long to get coal from
one part
of China to another into the coal fields, because it's cheaper than doing it on the train.
China.
So they don't really seem to be that bothered about net zero, and we obviously are pushing for.
Well, we're going. We're jumping in with both feet.
Well, we do, and I don't know if you know, but in the last 7 or 8 days in England, there's been no wind.
Yeah.
So the onshore and offshore wind has been doing nothing.
There's been wind from where you are.
Well, let's not talk about that.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Get picked up on the microphone, but
no. Look, I think sometimes common sense ain't very common.
And I'm not anti-net zero.
No.
But there's got to be a viable alternative to transition to. You can't just turn everything off and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, apparently that's
what we're doing. But the Sterling Ed Miliband's in charge, so, that's great. Yeah. He's the Doncaster North MP who never, ever turns up.
Oh, why would he? It's business. He's got business to do, isn't he? He's busy, mate. Don't want to come and see you and your chip shop. Stuff you.
Well, he's not my MP, so it's
no, he's not. No.
He's I'm Axome, and Isle of Axome and South or something.
But look, it is what it is. We're going to have to get through it. And,
we will get through it. And we always say this, we will get through it. There's probably going to be less of us ultimately at the end of the day. But like with everything else, the good stuff will rise to the top, like the cream.
Anybody listening to this...
anything else is, the other things may sink.
Just keep trying to do the best product you can. Try stay keen on prices. Drive your suppliers sensibly down where you can. Because obviously they've got costs too. And just try to run a good business. Yeah. More than ever, it's going to be hard, but hopefully it will come out on the other end.
Yeah, you've got to be positive. Because if you didn't, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Is pack it in.
Yeah, it's true.
Say you got anxiety and claim your money every week.
This is true.
Yeah.
On that note, young man.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me back.
You've got to keep coming back. You keep busy. You do.
Enjoy it. So now I've got some.
We'll try squeeze another one of these in, sometime at Christmas, maybe before Christmas to release over Christmas.
More than happy to.
Maybe we'll see if somebody else wants to join us.
And I should be rejoining you on the pod squad.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Special guest.
Well, we're doing one tomorrow without you.
I know. I'm sorry, I'm training tomorrow. I actually forgot how bloody hard it is to train new people.
Yeah.
Because it must be 14 years since I've trained the last one.
Yeah.
It's a long time since I trained someone how to sort of run the shop. So
it's good though. It's good that you're starting fresh though with new people.
Well, it's the next generation's coming up now.
Exactly.
And there's some really, really good people. Yeah. I'm pleased to say we seem to have got a good, strong generation of kids that have got a work ethic.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's all good.
All right, young man.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Ceres Podcast News Review with me, Stelios, and my good friend and co-host, David Nicolaou. Like I said before, we'd love to hear your thoughts of what you're working on and what's important to your business right now. So either join us on the Ceres Podcast discussion group to let us know there, or just get in touch anyway, it doesn't hurt. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, subscribe to our main list, the episode will be in the show notes, and in there, every week you'll get updates on news, special offers, new episodes, competitions, and there's a lot going on now with Christmas around the corner. So yeah, just do what you got to do, keep going, and until next time, just keep in touch with us, enjoy the podcast, enjoy the articles, and yeah, we hope to talk to you soon.